Hi guys, I actually really enjoyed this discussion for this week too because I am a Disney movie lover, and as a child I probably watched most Disney movies that were introduced, and I actually really enjoy them. But I was pretty shocked when I watched the animated Disney movie moments that haven't aged well, because as a child I definitely did not register that some things could be offensive, or the fact that alcohol and drug use was used, or certain racism was put in there. I had no idea. And so understanding this article, I was just like, that is crazy. So some of the shocking things that were the Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, I loved those as a kid. I thought they were magical, romantic, just the perfect amount of fantasy for me. But then as I look back into it and the more modern viewing, it was pretty non-consensual. The true love's kiss was, they were unconscious, they were vulnerable. They really didn't know the person, if you think about it. Like in Snow White, she meets him, but they don't really build anything. And then in Sleeping Beauty, she knows Prince Philip, but she also doesn't really know him. So I feel like that is something that is kind of strange to hear about now. I was also shocked at Dumbo, because I never watched Dumbo as a kid, really, because my parents didn't really want me watching it, which I don't understand why, but now I kind of do. And I was shocked at like the drinking and the racist comments made, especially with the crow and it being Jim Crow. And I'm learning about Jim Crow laws right now in my sociology class, and they were the laws that, didn't allow especially the Black Americans to do anything. They couldn't go to their own school. They had to go to their own school. They had to go to their own restaurant. They couldn't get the right housing. I mean, they were just, race allowed them or didn't allow them to do anything that they wanted to do as the other races could do. And I feel like that was really strange that they put into a Disney movie, because I feel like that's very offensive and something I definitely wouldn't enter into a movie. Another thing that didn't get mentioned that I've also thought about when I had to think about movie moments that didn't age well is I absolutely love Beauty and the Beast. I mean, I adore it. And you think about it, and she falls in love with the Beast, and that's kind of bestiality, but I know it's like a curse that makes him a beast. But if you think about it in the more modern times, the modern values, it's kind of wrong in a way. Like, you want to believe in the fantasy aspect of it, but in a way it's like bestiality. And something about that just throws me off. Peter Pan, I watched it a few times as a kid, but very young, and I really only remembered the part where like they went to Neverland and all that stuff. And after watching that video, I was just shocked at how Disney perceived the Native Americans, and they made that song out of them, and they definitely followed the racial stereotypes version of it instead. And I think that was a very offensive scene, and it shouldn't have been put into the movie regardless. So in all, I do think that Disney needs to revisit these movies and change some specific scenes, especially the scenes that are racially offensive, because that's just wrong. And hopefully we're in more of a society where people are finally seeing that, even though it's Disney, like, they were just putting in the most racist things. And another thing is, the originals should be preserved but taken in as a lesson. I do agree, but at the same time, like, moving on to the newer movies like Frozen and Moana, I noticed like they're pretty careful with how they, make sure they're not stereotyping, make sure they're not doing this, make sure everything's consensual because of the new modern times we live in. And I do think that's important. So I think Disney is learning from it, and they're moving and growing as a company into making movies that are good for children to watch and good for children to, possibly learn from. But I think they definitely still have issues in those movies. But I still love Disney regardless. You don't see the issues that you would see as a kid, because a kid, you just think of everything as innocent and fun and, fantasy-like, but you don't really see the problems that were actually introduced in the movie until now.